Wool is a great material when it comes to functionality, but it's also a great material when it comes to sustainability if you do it in the right way.
Definitely. We like wool because it's a natural fiber, it's renewable, fossil-free, and it's also recyclable. If you do it the correct way, we can use the same fibers over and over again in new products.
But when you use a fiber from animals, it also comes with a great responsibility for animal welfare, but also the land where it breeds. Yeah. And in 2014, we launched our down promise, that all our down is traceable, it's ethically sourced, and it's from a byproduct from the meat industry. And now we're launching also a similar promise when it comes to wool, that all our wool should be traceable, recycled, or recovered, which is our Swedish wool. And of course, all our wool that we use is mulesing-free, but let's start with the traceable wool.
Traditionally, we buy wool fabrics and any fabrics as fabric, ready-made fabrics, or sometimes as yarn to do a knitted sweater.
And for the traceable wool, we have partnered up with the New Zealand Merino company positioned at New Zealand, and they have very close contact with all the farms and the stations, as they call at New Zealand, and they collect the wool. And it's all part of the ZQ program, which is a program to certify an audited wool. And on top of that, ZQ also recently launched a new program called ZQ RX, stands for ZQ Regenerative Index. So it's about regenerative farming, agriculture, and it's about keeping soil in a good health, to create a resilient farming system and biodiversity. So it's all about giving back more than you take out.
Which goes very hand in hand with the statement in the Fjällräven Way that we should leave base camp better than we find it.
Exactly, exactly.
And with the traceable wool, we can make a lot of different products. From the thin, really thin base layer, knitted. We also have this one, more mid-weight sweater, up to a more chunky cardigan. All made out of traceable wool from same sources, but of course different weights and different micron, so thickness of the yarn.
So the wool industry in New Zealand and Australia, where they have a long tradition of wool, it's very well established. They have a system for classification, sorting, so we know exactly what we get. We can order 16.5 micron and use it for a base layer. But then we have the Swedish wool.
Exactly. The Swedish wool industry is emerging, we could say. Of course, we have had sheep and wool for ages in Sweden, but we don't have a really advanced industry of taking care of the wool. Majority of the farmers have sheep because of the meat and the wool is a byproduct that we want to use. So this whole thing started in 2016 when we read an article in a Swedish handicraft magazine about how much wool is thrown away in Sweden. Either it's burnt or it's dug down back into the soil. And we thought that this is a bit sad, and we started to try to figure out what can we do with this wool. It was pretty obvious that we can't do the traditional products that we normally do, like base layers, sweaters, because the wool might be too coarse and it's not sorted, so it could be mixed colors. So we had to reverse it and start to think of, okay, we have this source of material, and start thinking of what type of product can we make from it to make from what we have. And the first product we made was a backplate for a small backplate called the Lapland Hike. It's a hunting backpack. And normally we make the backplates out of PU foam. It's a fossil material. And the idea was to replace that fossil material with a natural material. And from there we have created wool padding. We have a piece over here. which was the next step. When we could sort it a little bit more, we could single out the white wool, create this wool padding. Still, this product is covered in between 2 layers of fabric.
So it still doesn't have to be the finest wool.
Exactly. So in this, the Keb wool padded jacket, we're using this padding inside, but even if it's a bit coarse, it won't be itchy because you have fabrics around it.
Exactly. Because we don't have a standardized national system for sorting and classifying wool in Sweden today, it has been pretty hard to make anything further of it, to spin it into yarn. But now we are actually using it. We managed to spin it into a yarn, and we're using it in this sweater, for instance. And the great thing with this sweater is that it's natural color. We haven't dyed it at all. We're using the white color of the sheep, but we also have it in a gray color, which is also a natural. And this is a mix between using wool from white sheep and brown wool. So these 2 colors are mixed into this one, so completely undyed.
Which is fantastic, but that means also that the color of this product could be a bit different from season to season, but I mean, that's the color of nature, isn't it?
Exactly. And then we have the recycled wool, which is a handicraft that has been made in Italy for more than hundreds of years. They have a tradition of actually taking care of the wool and recycle it into new materials. But this is something that was made because you needed to take care of the materials out there, and also because it was a cheap way to create new fabrics.
Yeah, definitely. I remember when I was a kid and looked inside a wool sweater, it always said pure new wool. Exactly. To make it a bit fancy. But now I think we see a shift in trends, and we can be proud of using this already created material and take it back and put it in the loop again.
It's a lot of worn out second-hand garments, and it can also be spilled from the wool industry. It's from all over the globe actually, but it's collected in Italy. It's then sorted. You sort out other fibers, synthetic fibers, so you only have wool garments or textiles. It's then color sorted, so we have all the blue nuances and all the red ones and all the green shades in different piles. It's then shredded down to small pieces to open up the fiber and spun into a new yarn. This means that we don't have to dye the colors, which saves a lot of chemicals and energy and dye stuff. But it also comes with some issues. Back 40-50 years ago, the textiles could contain a lot of hazardous chemicals. We don't know that. So it's really important that we have a strict control of all the chemical used.
And testing them.
And testing it constantly, yes. So this is the actual yarn from this pile of colors, which creates a really nice, even, vibrant color.
Here's an example of a product that we make of the recovered wool. And when we make the yarn, since the fibers are shredded, we add a few % of synthetic fiber to make it stronger. Could be any synthetic fiber, but we use recycled polyester. We think makes sense, just to make it strong enough so we can make a long-lasting product out of it.
Exactly, and that's what it's all about.
Yes, long-lasting products is the best.
If you have any questions or any wonderings about wool in general or wool specific for Fjällräven, please reach out to us below.
Write your questions below. Thank you very much.
Thank you.